Hello, this is Lisa Jahn-Clough, and I'm here to read you another story from a short story collection that I wrote called The Kids of CattyWumpus Street. It's about 11 kids who all live on a very twisty, windy street called, you guessed it, Cattywampus Street. And on Cattywampus Street, there's a couple apartment buildings, a bunch of houses, a zoo, a school, a swimming pool, a park, and at the very, 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 very end is the Wattleby toy store. And the 11 kids that live there, their names are Jamal, LindaLee, Hans, Evelyn, Charlotta, Rodney, I'm looking at a piece of paper here, Mateo, Amira, Emmett, Bob, and Ursula. And today I'm going to read to you story number 2, the story of LindaLee, the mean girl. As you may have guessed, if you heard the previous story, the story of Jamal about the magic ball, you would know that LindaLee was a mean girl. But trust me, if you haven't read that story, you'll find out that LindaLee is indeed a mean girl. Hopefully, you've never met a girl as mean as LindaLee, and if you have, I'm sorry. LindaLee was mean all the time, at school, at the playground, even at birthday parties. She was mean to her teachers, her friends, and strangers. LindaLee lived in a first-floor apartment on Cattywampus Street with her grandmother, Nana Gigi. And believe it or not, LindaLee was even mean to her. That's right, LindaLee was a downright mean machine. LindaLee didn't know why she was mean. She would want to be nice, she would plan to be nice, she would try to be nice, but at the very last minute, a little voice in her head would say, "Be mean, be mean." And so she would be. She couldn't help it. You might wonder how LindaLee had any friends. It was because she never had them for long. As soon as Hans or Jamal or Charlotta or Evelyn and Emmett or any of the other kids found out how mean LindaLee could be, they no longer wanted to be around her. By and by, there came a day when there was no one left for her to be friends with. And on that day, LindaLee walked home from school all alone. It was a beautiful day. Not a cloud was in the sky, the sun was shining, but LindaLee hated the sun. "Sun," she yelled, "you are hot, you are stupid, and you are ugly too." What a mean thing to say to the sun. Suddenly, a big gray cloud covered the sun and started to rain. "Oh no," LindaLee cried. She hated the rain just as much as she hated the sun. "Rain," she yelled, "you are wet, you are stupid, and you are ugly too." What a mean thing to say to the rain. LindaLee walked faster, as if that would keep her dry, but the rain just came down harder and she got wetter. LindaLee started to run. She ran straight by her own house, then the park, then the Wattleby toy store, and finally across the train tracks. She ran and ran and ran until, oops, she slipped in the mud and fell into a deep puddle. Down, 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 down she fell until ka-thunk! LindaLee landed. Her pretty pink dress was covered with slime. "Oh no, my dress is ruined," she yelled. Her pretty white shoes were also covered with slime. "Oh no, my shoes are ruined," she yelled. And right there in the mud, LindaLee started to cry. Big, fat tears streamed down her muddy face. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo-hoo. "What's your problem?" a grubby, groggy, strange voice asked. Where was that voice coming from? LindaLee dried her tears and looked around. Nobody was in front of her, nobody was next to her, and nobody was behind her. Who's that?" she stuttered. "Down here," said the grubby, groggy voice. "Where?" said LindaLee. She moved onto the wet grass. "Watch it! You almost sat on me, you ninny!" the voice yelled. LindaLee peered down and saw a grubby, groggy, tiny frog right next to her, almost buried in the muddy grass. A frog can't talk, she thought. Can it? "Yeah, it's me, silly," the frog said. "A frog!" The frog stretched itself up, straight, warts and all. "Ew, you're gross and ugly," LindaLee screamed. "And you are a mean, 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 mean girl," the frog screamed right back. "That's why you have no friends, and that's why you are sitting here all alone, feeling sorry for yourself. Your dress is stupid and ugly, that ribbon in your hair is ridiculous. I've never seen such hideous shoes before in my life." The frog went on and on and on and on, pointing out everything it thought was stupid and ugly, which, trust me, was a lot. LindaLee couldn't stand it. This was the meanest frog ever. LindaLee was so upset that she got up and started running. She ran and ran back across the train tracks to Cattywampus Street. As she passed the toy store, her dress became dry and pretty again. Her shoes were no longer dirty. The sun came out and the clouds rolled away. LindaLee ran all the way home. When she got there, she ran up to her grandmother and hugged her. "You are the best, Nana," she cried. "I love you so much." "Do I know you?" said Nana Gigi. "It is me, LindaLee," LindaLee said. Nana Gigi shook her head. "I don't think so." Next, LindaLee ran to the school where her teacher, Mr. Belloc, was just leaving. "I love you so much," she yelled. "I love school too," she added. "Who are you?" Mr. Belloc asked. "It is me, LindaLee," LindaLee said. "No," said Mr. Belloc, shaking his head. "That's not possible." LindaLee went to see all her former friends. First Hans, then Jamal, then Charlotta, then Emma and Evelyn, and so on. One by one, she hugged them and told them how much she loved them. And one by one, they asked her who she was. "It is me, LindaLee," LindaLee said over and over, but no one believed her. LindaLee went back to her house. This time, Nana Gigi wouldn't even let her in. "Sorry," she said. "You look like a nice girl, but I miss my mean LindaLee." LindaLee sat on the stoop and tried to think of ways she could prove that she was indeed the real LindaLee. Then she heard that little voice in her head again. Not the grubby, groggy, froggy voice, but the familiar voice. Be mean, it said. LindaLee tightened her pink bow so tight that her head hurt. Then she stood up and took a big breath. "Open up and let me in," she shouted in her loudest, meanest voice as she stomped on the door. "Everyone is so stupid. You don't even know that it's me, LindaLee." Nana Gigi opened the door. "Here's my LindaLee." She was so happy to have LindaLee back that she gave her a big bowl of strawberry ice cream and a chewy chocolate chip cookie. And LindaLee was never nice again, except every once in a while when she couldn't help it. The end. Thank you for listening. Tune in to another video and you will hear one of the other stories of one of the other kids on Cattywampus Street. Bye.